So recently I did a video where, of course, the writers of Avengers Infinity War specifically talk about the fact that they very much wanted and considered and even had versions of Avengers Infinity War where they were going to include Netflix characters. Specifically, they talk about the likes of Luke Cage, saying yes, he could have made a quick cameo during the battle in New York, which of course included Ebony Maw and Call Obsidian. But then of course they went on to say that there just wasn't enough in there to be able to justify this, and you'd have to take time away to explain who this is. And I saw a lot of people in the comments disagreeing with me, saying, yeah, but I watched the show, I know who he is, so put him in there. Put all the Defenders in there because I know who they are. Well, I wanted to, as I teased on one of my Twitch streams, I actually went into this and started looking at numbers. And you guys know I love looking at numbers for these things and comparing them. And I actually want to give you guys a breakdown of why this never would have worked and why it can't work. So stick around for this video, and I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. So let's start off with the most popular Netflix show that Marvel has, which is Daredevil. Now, much like tracking certain TV ratings, there are outlets out there that track streaming numbers. And while they can't give you an official confirmation of anything, they have certain stats that they have made public, specifically ones that relate to Daredevil, who is the most popular character in the Marvel Netflix law. So with that in mind, what they found was during the first 11 days of Daredevil coming out, about 4.4 million people turned in to watch the first episode. So you're looking at numbers that are up there with when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. first came out and when The Flash and Green Arrow were first starting. So you're looking at some pretty good numbers there. But reminder, so about 4.4 million people watched the first episode. And then of course there's the people that drop it, and then of course there's people that will continue it. So by the end of it, who knows how many people watched it. Of course, the second season usually has an uptick, and that's typical. So it's been estimated that maybe about 6 million people ended up watching the second season. But most are saying it's probably about 5 million people to watch the first episode of the second season, which still, that's great, which gives us a good base to kind of focus this around. So 5 million people have watched Daredevil. Now that we got that baseline, Luke Cage is less popular. And that's the character that they insisted that they were considering using, because if we look at the Netflix shows, Daredevil is currently quote unquote dead. So you can't use that character. So let's talk about Luke Cage. His estimated views are somewhere, I've heard and I've read, around 3 million to 3.5. But once again, we're just going to stick with an estimate of 5 million. Let's just stick with that, and let's just say that that's what all the Netflix characters are getting, just to make this math easy for you guys while I try to explain this. So 5 million people watched Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Punisher, all of these. And now we talk about the movie numbers. So as of the time I'm making this video, Avengers Infinity War, the movie many or maybe one or two of these cameos could have taken place in, has made $1.8 billion. Now the math here, let's just assume that the average moviegoer ticket is $14.15. And that's me combining, the big premium IMAXs, the cheaper matinees and everything. So it balances out somewhere between like $13 and $16 for a movie ticket. So we're going to go with $15 to make the math simple. So if we take $1.8 billion and just divide by, let's say, $14.50. Or 15 to be more exact. That's 120 million tickets that have been sold for Infinity War. Now sure, there's repeated viewings, that's guaranteed. But let's just say if even, 40 million of these are repeated viewings, we're left with 80 million people that watched Avengers Infinity War. Now out of these 80 million people, just think of this for a second. Only 5 million have watched the Netflix show. With Luke Cage, about 3. Do you see why that character being in there would be a problem? And that's the simple math behind it. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, there's people that pirated it. Okay, sure, let's add a couple million on there. And sure, there's people that bought it on DVD and Blu-ray releases. Okay, fine. But it definitely did not get enough people so that all 120 million people have bought tickets to Infinity War know who Luke Cage is. That's impossible. So imagine if he shows up and you don't know who he is. You suddenly have no context for what he's doing or why he's there or who he is. That makes the movie worse. And me and you have seen it. Actually, there's many people I talk to on CBC, on Twitter, who are fans, who love Marvel, who haven't seen some of these shows. So not even they would understand it. And that's why they weren't in it. So as Scott Steiner would say, the numbers don't lie.